Prediction: Bitcoin price above $150,000 before the end of the year. Let's talk about why I think that's the case. First off, predictions are almost wrong, including my own. So take that with a grain of salt. The typical rule in predictions is you should predict a time range or a price range, but not both. Because if you only predict one, you're never wrong. Because if you predict a certain price with no time range, it could always happen in the future. And if you predict a time range and something, ambiguous, such as, I really think everybody's going to love what happens between now and the end of the year, well, of course, you're not wrong because you didn't say what was going to happen. But anyway, I am violating those rules and just, going to tell you I think Bitcoin will be above $150,000 between now and the end of the year. Okay, so why do I think that? First, why do I share that? I share it because I think it's helpful for you to have an insight into how I'm thinking about things and why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. So sure, I'm wrong a lot of the time, not about Bitcoin and not about the ultimate direction of Bitcoin, but near-term predictions, I am wrong just as much as everybody, and everybody is pretty much wrong on near-term predictions with any markets. It doesn't matter if it's stocks, bonds, real estate, corn, soybeans, gold, silver, or Bitcoin, anything that trades, markets tend to seek out the point of maximum pain, which means markets, human nature tends to result in markets doing the thing in the short term that is the opposite of what everybody thinks it's going to do, which results in then the maximum amount of pain, because the people who are predicting what's going to happen in the near term end up on the wrong side and lose money, which is why in pretty much any market, all you can do is buy and hold, ignore the price, and, think about the long term, because in the long term, a good investment always eventually ends up. In the short term, it's just anybody's guess. But I share this because I want to provide my insights into why. Okay, why do I think Bitcoin will be above $150,000? First of all, I think the Bitcoin 4-year cycle is dead. That's just what I think. It's obviously a raging debate in the Bitcoin community of we've had 16 years of 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 years up, 1 year down. But in every case, the reason we had a one down year is because in the third of the 3 up years, we had what's called a blow-off top. If you think of a blow-off top, think of a very sort of pointed volcano where, the ground is completely level, and then it starts going up, and then it goes way up, and the vertical slope of the side of the pointed top volcano gets more and more vertical until ultimately it's the top, and then a bunch of lava comes spewing out of it. And what happens to that lava? Well, it comes right back down. So a blow-off top is something where you get this big parabolic run. It's called a parabolic run because it's shaped like a parabola. So it's a parabolic run where you get this accelerating purchasing of an asset followed by a significant price correction. We have not had that this time. Yes, 2023, 2024, and 2025 so far have been up years. And in some cases, significant up years, but we have not had a parabolic rise. We have not had a blow-off top. Even 2026 was not that much higher than the previous high of 2024, which was not that much higher than the previous high of whatever it was, 112 or whatever. I mean, we've been stair-stepping and grinding. So I think the 4-year cycle is over. And if the 4-year cycle is over, which I think there is a greater than 50% probability that it is, then a huge amount currently of the selling pressure in Bitcoin, because there is a lot of selling pressure. As much as a ton of people are buying Bitcoin, there are a lot of people selling Bitcoin. And a lot of that selling pressure is coming from people who think the 4-year cycle is still a thing. Historically, in 2013, 2017, and 2021, the market high was somewhere at the end second half of October or the first week or two of November, which is right in the strike zone we're in right now. And leading up to that, there has been a ton of sell pressure of people trying to get ahead of a possible 4-year cycle. And what's going to happen, my prediction, again, often wrong, but my prediction is that the 4-year cycle is over, that because we have not had a blow-off top or a parabolic rise, we will not get a 4th year correction in 2026, and I predict we're just going to keep grinding higher. So here's what happens if we do. If we do, all of the people who are trying to play the 4-year cycle, which you should not do. And I've done entire videos about why you should not sell your Bitcoin in 2025 with the plans to buy it back in 2026 at a lower price. I've done entire videos about why you should not do that. And please do not try to do that, because people get burned every time they try to do something like that. So all of those people who are doing that right now and have been doing that from earlier this year, all of those people are going to realize at some point, if the 4-year cycle is over, that it is over. And as soon as all those people who have taken their chips off of the table, waiting for a big price correction, it becomes clear that that's not the way things are going to play out. They're not going to just sit on all of their money between now and $1 million per Bitcoin. As soon as it becomes clear that the 4-year cycle is over, they will immediately redeploy their capital, because they don't want to be sitting on the sidelines while Bitcoin goes from 100,000 to 1 million. They just don't want to be sitting on the sidelines. So over the next month, it will become clear whether Bitcoin, the 4-year cycle, is over or not. At least it will become clear if the cycle top is going to happen similarly to the way it has historically, which has been in the final, second half of October or first half of November. And in this case, if 126,000 was the top, that would have been a bit early as compared to the other years in 2013, 2017, and 2021. But again, as soon as it becomes clear that that may not be the pattern going forward, I think you're going to get a huge amount of buy pressure by all the people who want to be in Bitcoin and are trying to game the system, realizing that they're getting left behind and redeploying their capital to Bitcoin. So that's what I think will likely take us above $150,000 between now and the end of the year. Is between now and the end of the year, it's going to become clear if the 4-year cycle is playing out as it has historically, or if we are in a new paradigm. And if we're in a new paradigm, I just think there's a lot of upside in a new paradigm. Okay, additionally, there's always the chance between now and the end of the year that some major positive news event hits that results in a jump start of the Bitcoin price. One thing before I forget, before I go into that, another reason I think the 4-year cycle is over is I think the most recent washout of 2 weeks ago, it was either 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago. Time flies. I don't know. The big crash that took Bitcoin below 105 for like 5 seconds. That big wipeout, I think if the 4-year cycle was still in play, we would have gone down from there. And the reason for that is everyone would have said, okay, this is the end. This is the end of the 4-year cycle. It's, I should say the start of the down year of the 4-year cycle. And I think it just wouldn't have recovered. I think it would have gone below 105, and then it would have ground down below 100, and then below 95, and, bottomed out at, 80,000 or something like that. But that didn't happen. We've had a rebound. Not only have we stayed above 105 for like a week or two now, however long it's been, but we're at the time I started recording this, we are at 111,000, 111. So again, I don't see the behavior that says, hey, everybody's spirit is broken, the 4-year cycle's still in play, time to hunker down, etc. I just don't see that. And plus, I'm also gauging on how I feel. How do I feel pessimistic about Bitcoin? No, I don't. And my mood is, probably in the same ballpark of other Bitcoiners who feel like it's just not time for a Bitcoin down, a down market. It just feels like that's not in the cards. It feels like the Federal Reserve is about to print just unbelievable gobs of money. They're about to, drop interest rates precipitously. Like all of these things that are good for Bitcoin are about to happen. So when I'm looking at that and I'm saying all these things are about to happen, do I feel pessimistic about Bitcoin? I'm like, no, I feel optimistic. And I think if I feel optimistic, I think a lot of other people also feel optimistic. And that, again, is what drives price, is people feeling optimistic about any asset. It's not just Bitcoin, but when people are optimistic about any asset in the stock market or bonds or commodities or real estate, the price tends to rise. So I'm feeling optimistic. I assume others are feeling optimistic. The latest research from James Check from this morning is still a bit cautious, but it really looks at things through the lens of sort of a fresh perspective. And it's, my takeaway is pretty optimistic. So I posted this morning, I think there's a 75% chance we go up from here, a 25% chance we go down before we go up from here, which I think is obviously a possibility because I still think that's a 25% chance. But I think a 75% chance is strong enough for me to throw out a 150,000 by the end of the year price prediction. So again, but I'm often wrong. So do not take my word for it. I just want to communicate, where I'm at. Also, I think there's a chance that we get some major catalyst that results in a big run up in the price as well. A major company like Facebook could announce that they're adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet, or a major country like Switzerland could announce that they're adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet as a strategic reserve asset. There's all sorts of things that could happen that could lead people to believe that, wow, this is like Bitcoin's time has come. And we've even seen a lot of those. We saw Morgan Stanley gave the green light to sell Bitcoin ETFs to 16,000 financial advisors. I think that was last week. The United States did a $20 billion swap line with Argentina last week, which is basically one country with a worse currency swapping fiat currency with a country that has a slightly less worse currency. It's just, the insanity. Like, if you watch Jack Mallers, which I will do tonight because it comes on at 5 o'clock Central Time every Monday. If you watch Jack Mallers or you listen to the Natalie Brunell news block, all of the news is favorable to Bitcoin. All of it's favorable to Bitcoin. So I think the combination of a bunch of small catalysts or one big catalyst could push Bitcoin above 150,000 anyway. And if not, I think there's a chance that as soon as people realize, which I think is, again, 75% probability that the 4-year cycle is over, that suddenly all that capital is going to flood back in that has been cautious, worried that they were going to buy the top. And of course, nobody wants to buy the top. And so everybody's cautious until they're sure they're not buying the top. So anyway, I just think there's a lot going for Bitcoin right now. And thus my price prediction. So that's where my head's at. I'm often wrong in the near term. I tend to not be wrong in the long term, but I am often wrong in the near term. So take that with a huge grain of salt. But I'm feeling quite optimistic. And if I had any US dollars to convert to Bitcoin, I would. Honestly, if I had any US dollars I could convert to Bitcoin, I would absolutely do it, like, right now. That's where my head's at. And I'm 100% Bitcoin right now. So I literally do not have another penny I could convert to Bitcoin. Otherwise, I would right now. Have a great day, everyone.